Україна.
Понад усе.
Україна.
Понад усе.
Нашим захисникам тричі.
Слава, слава, слава.
A year has passed very quickly. Today is exactly 1 year since a non-nuclear country as Ukraine became from the 90s, crossed the border of Kursk region in Russia, and they stayed there for more than 6 months. Russians could not do anything. 10,000 North Koreans came to defend Russian soil because this is what a second biggest army in the world, so they claim. This is what they need. Russians need North Koreans to fight Ukrainians in Kursk region. From 6th of August last year, it went for more than 6 months. They couldn't do much. They tried a lot, and they were weighed and they were measured and they were found wanting. Now Putin is asking Lukashenko to say, how about we do just the aerial ceasefire. Ukraine wants full ceasefire. Ukraine wants full peace in its entity. Russians are like in a shop. They are picking and choosing. This is what is convenient for us. These Geneva Conventions, nah, those are not for us. And this is happening only for one reason, and one reason only, because Russia is a terrorist state.
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 Stop Russia, stop the war.
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 And now, while countries are negotiating, Europe made its choice. They're gonna buy their energy from America. I don't know how and how quickly it will affect our bills. Everyone needs gas and everyone needs oil, but you do not need Russian gas and you do not need Russian oil. Those countries that take advantage of the situation right now, like India and China, either demanding or blatantly just asking, can you subsidize the sale of natural resources to us like China did? They said, yes, we will buy your gas, but at domestic prices. Subsidize it to illogical levels, and then we will buy it almost for free. India buys natural resources from Russia and resells it and makes profit while other countries are sanctioned. This war, the biggest European war since World War II, the first war for Ukraine, should become the last war for Russia, because Russia is a terrorist state.
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 Stop Russia, stop the war.
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 Tribunal for Russian war criminals.
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 And it was very educational, better than Carlson interview with Putin, when Putin and Lukashenko are sitting this week, and Lukashenko is saying Russia will bite off, they will conquer this and that, and then Putin says, no, 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 we will free the land, we will free the land. So when you attack Ukraine, and when you kill Ukrainian civilians every single day for more than 1,250 days now, this they are calling freeing us. They are not having our prisoners of war in military imprisonment. They are calling them correction facilities. So Ukrainians, a peaceful nation that never had a war in their history of their independence, they need to be corrected by Russians, those who wage war from Africa to Middle East, from Middle East to Europe. Russians are nothing but scumbag terrorist invaders. They are generational war criminals. Ask anyone in Syria, ask anyone in Georgia, ask anyone in Moldova, ask anyone in the Baltic countries, ask anyone in Ukraine, ask anyone in Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, Central African Republic. Because of Ukrainian resilience, they are not in Syria anymore. Because of Ukrainian resilience, Moldovans can prosecute pro-Russian propagandist spies, and one of them, I think her last name is Hutsul, she got 7 years in jail this week, and one political journalist, he said, not even, I think Sternenko said that today, not even Ukrainians before full-scale invasion had the guts to prosecute that we still have lots of pro-Russian politicians in our parliament. After this war, there will be a war against corruption in Ukraine. None of us are gathering here for Zelensky. None of us are gathering here for Ukrainian MPs. We are gathered here for Ukrainian soldiers. We are gathered here for every civilian they killed, for every civilian they are planning to kill tomorrow morning. We are gathering here for the living and the slaughtered. We are gathering here for peace and freedom for Europe. Help Ukraine protect peace.
Help Ukraine protect peace.
Help Ukraine protect peace.
Help Ukraine protect peace.
Stop Russia, stop the war.
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 I think the only time that we gathered here for Zelensky was after that White House humiliation of our president when he was asked why he's not wearing a suit, that we don't have any cards. But as you saw during Operation Spiderweb and other brilliant military operations that Ukraine have done this year alone, and as you can see that even when Trump offered Putin, look, wherever you stand, we freeze it where we are, let's call it a day, you will get about 60% of what you wanted, and what you have right now, you can't get all 4 regions because you don't occupy any of them fully. And Putin, as greedy, delusional war criminal he is, with a role model, Stalin, as his role model. It was unacceptable for him. This is why this war will continue. For us, peace is very simple. Release all prisoners of war. Return all the 19,500 kidnapped children that Putin admitted that they kidnapped in 2022. Stop torturing our civilians on occupied territories. Leave our territories. If we were born there and we lived there peacefully for many decades, this is our land. It's not about the land, it's about the people who were born there and who belong there. They are forcing Ukrainians to join Russian army and to fight Ukrainians for the land that they want. Whatever you give them, they want more. In 2014, they wanted only Crimea. Then they wanted 2 regions. Now they want 4 regions. Nothing, absolutely nothing is enough for Russian scumbag terrorist invaders. Because Russia is a terrorist state.
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 Stop Russia, stop the war.
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 Tribunal for Russian war criminals.
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 This is why we gather here. This is why our volunteers are gathering funds every Sunday. This is why we have Tolokas. This is why we do what we do so consistently. And for us, supporting Ukraine is more of a religion than a philosophy or a hobby. Supporting Ukraine should not be a hobby. as the biggest European country as Ukraine is, as the biggest refugee crisis unfolding right now in Europe because of Russia. Because Russia is a terrorist state.
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 And this is why it's so important that Ukraine wins. Because no one should wake up in the world where Russia can get whatever they want just by killing civilians. Medvedev this week escalated nuclear conflict now. The submarines, the nuclear submarines, American submarines are moving closer because they are taking seriously the delusional, half-drunk Medvedev's words, as he is, and many times was even on television. He appeared visually, and the way he sounded under influence. God knows what he's under when he's threatening America with nuclear weapons. But America takes threats seriously, because when you threaten Ukraine is somewhere in Europe, and America, it helps, then it stops help, then they stop again. They've done a lot for Ukraine. We are very grateful. But whenever they froze any military aid, we did with drones what we did with HIMARSes. We will work with whatever we have, because we don't have a choice. For us, this war is existential. For us, this war is personal. Like my cousin Sergey on the front line, we are fighting for peace and freedom in Europe. Help Ukraine protect peace.
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 Tribunal for Russian war criminals. And this is why it is so important for us. This is why it's so personal for us. This is why so much time and effort. I love maths, I love calculating. Most of the people that you see next to you spend between 3 and 4.5 grand in the last 3.5 years just to be here. Just to hold that flag above their head. Some people come from Southampton. We have 2 people from Hong Kong who live in Manchester, who come at least once a month just to hold our flag. We have people from Lithuania. They are old enough to remember Russian occupation. I grew up under Russian occupation. My parents grew up under Russian occupation. My youngest brother, out of 3 boys in my family, is the only person who was born in Latvia when it was independent and not under Russian rule. Most of the Latvians, Estonians and Lithuanians, those who still speak Russian, speak that language because the parents and the grandparents of those who are killing civilians in Ukraine made sure to enforce their language like it's a law. You couldn't get a decent job in USSR, or whatever republic it is. You need to be like the Russians. There's no such thing as a Russian ethnicity, because when they conquer so many little nations, and you see people like from Udmurtia and little regions of Ukraine who have, they look Asian, many of them, and then they give them the Russian passport and they say, this is the way to go. Criminals are getting a clean slate. Just go and kill Ukrainians and you will be set free, and all the crimes that you've done will be wiped clean. 50,000 of those criminals came to our land in 2022, around 4,500 made it alive. Many came back to Russia, and they did what Russians will do. They increased criminal rates by in some cities and towns by 400%. They were killing, they went to jail, they were given free slave, killed Ukrainians for 6 months between February of 2022 and autumn of 2023. This special offer ran for more than 18 months. Then they changed it to recurring contract for the rest of your life or for the rest of this war. And knowing Russia, that the nation that does not know peace. Because Russia is a terrorist state.
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 And this summer they decided to copy their best ally, North Korea, and now they will censor what you're searching in the internet. You can't search this, you can't search that. I think very soon Putin will say, you know what? One of my friends, he's a dictator. He tells his people what haircuts they should have. How about everyone will have the same haircut as me? Nothing will surprise me about Russia. Nothing have changed with Russia. 90 years ago was Holodomor, they were trying to kill Ukrainians by millions. 2025, they are still trying to kill Ukrainians as many as possible every single day for more than 1,250 days now. They will do that tomorrow and any day they can. There is no bank holiday, there is no Easter or Christmas day off for Russian killing machine. Putin have not shot a single bullet in Ukraine. Putin have not sent a single, he didn't shoot a single suicide drone, the design that they bought from Iran. Millions of Russians are helping this war machine. Millions of Russians. Those who say, oh, Putin will go and everything will change. No, Russians never change. Russians do not know peace. They had waged wars in the 90s when Yeltsin was the president, in the 80s when Gorbachev was there. For Russia, peace is offensive. For Russia, not getting what they want is unacceptable. And what they want is against any international law. Ukrainian peace formula is guided by international law. The way we treat our prisoners of war is guided by Geneva Conventions. Russians are breaking Geneva Conventions every single day. When they use North Korean missiles bombing our cities, they are breaking at least 2 Geneva Conventions when they are torturing and starving our prisoners of war. They are breaking numerous Geneva Conventions. For Russia, law does not exist because Russia is a terrorist state. Russia is a terrorist state. Stop Russia, stop the war.
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 And by the way, that Georgian ribbon that they like so much, you can see it even over here, yeah? Ironically, if you research it, it's nothing to do with communists. It was in the Tsar era, and even the colors were different, but they're stealing everything. Whatever they like from royal family that communists overthrown, they are taking it, nitpicking it. Oh, we invented this, oh, we invented that. Every single Russian car that was made even in USSR era is a ripoff of American cars. Every single technology that they say, okay, I think it was 2023 or 24, we will rejuvenate old Russian classic Moskvich. What is it made of? Chinese parts. This is what they are. They are a nation of fake inventors, war criminals, and they are generational war criminals. There is hope for Russia, and this hope lies in the hands and feet of Ukrainian soldiers. Because when, not if, Ukraine wins, Belarusian dictatorship falls. This is why every single Ukrainian, while fighting for our land and for our peace, we fight for democracy and peace in Europe. Lukashenko is telling how Americans and Ukrainians should do ceasefire. This is why, thank you for that. You keep supporting them. Go and visit them. See what they do to you. The boy with the tiniest little head I ever seen in my life just said, I support Russia. So he supports war crimes. He supports Russians killing Syrian civilians for more than a decade. He supports all the war crimes they did in Georgia in the 90s and in 2008, what they did in Moldova in the beginning of 90s, what they keep doing right now in at least 4 different countries in Africa. This young man found himself a country that he can look up to. This is why we gather here. We don't really care about provocations like that. A person who has a SIM card in his pocket, if I ask him, I think 1 or 2 questions about history, he would not even tell me the answers to that. He will say, I'm not going to reply. But you can't reply to a question that you don't know the answer. If you support Russia, this is the weirdest and the saddest thing anyone can say. Because having Russia as a neighbor, having Russia as a friend of your nation is the biggest punishment geographically, politically, and culturally you can have. This is why when Russians go to Georgia, Ukraine, Belarus, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, Kazakhstan, you name it, any neighbor, they will demand that you speak their language. Why? Because their parents and their grandparents, they made sure to force parents and grandparents of those people there. We need to learn Russian. It's not like I want to learn Russian. We must learn it. This is why when in 2023 Putin said to the African nations in St. Petersburg,
Я вас не грижу?
during the African summit in St. Petersburg, he says there are not enough Russian schools in Africa. This is what they want. They use their language as a weapon. Ukrainians use their language as a part of our identity, part of our culture. It's our music, it's our songs, it's our poetry, it's our literature. For them, it's the broken glass of USSR that are people walking on. This week, a 90-plus-year-old war veteran got deported to Russia from Latvia, and he goes like, they asked me to condemn what Russia is doing in Ukraine, and I will not. He said, I refuse to do that. Imagine, you live in Latvia, independent country, which was occupied and suffered from Russian occupation from 1945 until 1991. Every single Latvian rejoiced when they become independent. It was the best day in their history. Getting rid of Russians is the best day of history of many nations. Baltic countries know it more than anyone else. Even Finland did not forget what happened in 1939. How many people are still alive or running in politics who remember how Russians attacked Finland? This is why Finland decides having Russia as a neighbor is the biggest threat. It's worse than COVID. From COVID, there is a vaccine. You can get immunity by exposure. With Russia, the only consequences of exposure to Russians is the war veterans, the amputees that we have. We never had war veterans in Ukraine. Now we have tens of thousands of people without legs, without limbs. I'm friends with one girl who does not have a leg because her apartment was bombed. She is now recovering in Germany. Germany is paying for her prosthetics. But that leg is gone. had like lots of legs and arms. I saw one soldier, he's walking, he has only one arm left, both of his legs gone. We are a peaceful nation. Our nickname, the breadbasket of Europe. What nickname will you give these war criminals, these scumbag terrorist invaders, which are generational war criminals, which is undisputed historical fact, and more than a dozen of nations from Africa to Middle East, from Middle East to Europe can testify to that today. Russia is not a Ukrainian problem. Russia is a world problem because Russia is a terrorist state.
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 Stop Russia, stop the war.
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 And from my cousin Sergey, and from every single soldier, from Victoria, the nurse whose family, every single person in her family is in the army or they're medics. She lived in America. I follow her stories and she posts that being neutral in this conflict is the worst thing that you can do. If you don't care about the biggest war in Europe raging right now, this is not normal. This is not normal not to care what happens in Europe because we live in Europe. Does not matter. Britain can leave European Union, but the map of Europe will not change. But what will change is our demographic, because every single day they are killing hundreds of Ukrainians, they are killing hundreds of Africans. They used to kill until autumn last year hundreds of Syrians every single week. This is why we need to help Ukraine for the first war for Ukraine to become the last war for Russia. Slava Ukraini!
Героям слава!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
І нашим захисникам тричі.
Слава! Слава! Слава!
And as always, we're gonna finish with our beautiful and very powerful national anthem. And please translate it into English, and you will understand that even Ukrainian national anthem is about struggle and our perseverance against oppression. So right now, our national anthem is about this war. But hopefully one day, very soon, we will sing this national anthem. And the day will come when we will wake up and no one will hunt us down just because we're Ukrainians and we were born on our own land. Thank you so much. We're going to have that national anthem right now. Thank you so much.
Ще не вмерла України ні слава, ні воля. Ще нам, браття українці, усміхнеться доля. Згинуть на